lifted GQ patrols and you're going to Monkey Gum and here, there and everywhere else, you're probably not going to get a 24-foot caravan. The biggest thing that I don't think is being supported, and it seems to be the trap that everyone falls into, is these electrical systems that are just way more complicated than they need to be.
You haven't been there, you haven't experienced it. Something that we all have to do
awesome.
once in our lives.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
The Outer Side is proudly supported by Tie Gear. Head to www.tiegear.com to explore the wide range of high-quality camping essentials, including guy ropes, screw-in tent pegs, tie-downs, and heaps more. Tie Gear. Adventure secured. Dog and Gun Coffee. Check out www.dogandguncoffee.com to grab yourself some bloody good coffee ready for adventure. G'day and welcome to The Outer Side. I'm Tony, and in this episode I'm joined by Ryan Gudiksen, the owner of Offgrid Outfitters. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for coming out.
Oh, mate, always a pleasure. Now we're going to start with the fast five. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You answer with the first thing that comes to mind. What's your dream car?
Depends. New school or old school? I'll say Porsche 911 GT3. Would be, or any Porsche 911 probably, would be that more modern car. And then I've got an EH wagon. I'm a just one of those things. When I was growing up, I had EHs. So I had an old EH wagon that I restored when I was 13, 14. And then sold it. I had a guy offer me way too much money when I was that age. I sold it, which was probably good because it was full of bog and I painted it myself. It was horrible. But yeah, now I've got another EH wagon and I've got a EH sedan upstairs just here that's sort of waiting to get some work done too. So yeah, I'm a bit of an old Holden tragic.
Nice. Favourite band or music artist?
You're a big country fan,
Yeah, I
aren't you?
love country, mate. Yeah.
I'm sort of known to enjoy some country music, much to your dismay at a campfire.
I've heard that.
So I sort of do that, particularly when you're around. I'll make sure I turn it up just that little bit louder.
So who's your favourite country artist?
Oh, there's a few. Chris Stapleton is one that I would love to go see. I've never been able to see live.
American?
American. I'd say he's a lot of those American sort of guys. There's heaps of them now. There's so much.
Too many, I might say.
It's fastest growing genre in the world,
I'm
mate.
sure it is. I will not be checking out his music.
With a bit of age and a bit of sophistication, we'll get you there.
The age is happening, sophistication definitely not. If you could have an unlimited supply of one thing, what would it be?
Time, yeah, I'd say time.
Good answer. I'm the same, mate. Best travel destination in Australia?
Or that I've been to? The high country. I know it's sort of somewhat done to death, but it's just, there's something about it. You drive down there, you get into that alpine region, you see the yellow lines on the road, you go into, say, Kosciuszko or down into Victoria, going to Bright. There's just so much down there to see, so much history. I've done a fair bit of it, but I've in reality barely scratched the surface. So that's probably one of those areas I'd really enjoy. But one of the top of my list in terms of places that we want to go, that we just haven't had the time to do, is WA, which is again, it's done to death as well, but there's a reason. It's beautiful over there. So.
Yeah, man. And the tyranny of distance, right? Like, I'm the same. I've done like a lot in pretty much every state except for WA, just because it's so far away. But like, man, looks unbelievable. And I think the high country is one place that I haven't spent much time because my wife hates the cold. So whenever I propose like a mountain trip, she's like,
summer, man. No,
summer. Let's go up the coast to the beach.
We'll go Christmas. So we've been down there at Christmas. It's warm. You've got the beautiful creeks and everything else. It's not cold. You can even at high elevation. It's nice and warm. But you've got the creeks and you've got fishing. We should do a trip. We did it. We've been down there over Christmas and New Year's, and you can just find pockets where you're just the only ones there. No one will come past. So.
Yeah, absolutely will take you up on that. We scratched the surface of it last year. We came back through the high country, coming back from SA, and like we just did Blue Rag and went to Dargo because I wanted to go to the pub. And even that little snapshot, I was like, okay, this is epic. I get it.
That's like some real popular, but that's a really good place to start in terms of getting a bit of a taster as to what the place looks like. But that's really, really popular. That's those sorts of areas. But there's hundreds and hundreds of places like that add to that the seclusion of not having anyone around. Makes it even better.
Not a bad answer at all. Last one. What would you eat for your last meal?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this actually.
See, I'll change them up, but that one's a consistent one.
Yeah, I'd say, I don't know what it is, but I'd say probably a Mediterranean style pizza.
Oh.
So like olives and artichokes and just all that that sort of that Greek or that Mediterranean sort of style.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. You see one of those on a pizza menu somewhere in a
it's going to be
joint.
Good, right?
That's the way I'm going. So.
Yeah, good answer. So, mate, as long as I've known you, which is a little while now, you've been Ryan from Offgrid. But how did that all begin for you? Because you didn't start in this industry, right?
No. This is you could argue I've destroyed my hobby. This is. So I'm an electrician. So electrician by trade. I lived in here in southern Sydney, so a town sort of about an hour and a half south of Sydney. Yeah. Did my trade. I used to go into Sydney and do my apprenticeship in Sydney. So massive travel and all the rest of it. And I sort of got tired of that, and I moved to Queensland. We're up there for probably 10 years. And I was I'd finished my trade and I'd gone up there and I sort of worked in the, doing houses, and I just sort of wanted to get more experience. Mm-hmm. But I was in industrial automation and that sort of stuff, so I fell back into that. And I worked at the Carlton United Brewery for a long time doing PLCs and automation and all this sort of stuff.
A bit dangerous place for a guy like you.
Yeah, maybe that's where my love of beer came from. So I did all of that. And then in the mining or the oil and gas industry, I got into basically more in the operations management side of things. And then we had Will, our oldest, and then we fell pregnant with our second boy, Evan, and we decided to move back down to Sydney. So we just wanted to be closer to family.
Okay.
And while we're in Queensland, we had the we had the benefit or the experience of buying a caravan to do some travel and stuff with our friends up there, and we bought a caravan from Kedron Caravans. So we watched a bunch of their DVDs and stuff like that, and sort of got infected with that sort of. We wanted to go and do that sort of travel, and we just so happened to find a van, and we overextended ourselves and bought one and had an awesome experience dealing with those guys, just legends of the industry, and just just all around good people. Mm-hmm. So that was our exposure to the industry, and we moved back down to Sydney, brought the van down with us. Obviously, 2 kids now, so we need to get a different van. We needed bunks, so we sold the Kedron and went looking for a new van or a camper or something else. And at that time, I was still an electrician in management down here in Sydney, and I was just getting tired of going into Sydney again. And our experience with trying to find a van and dealing with a lot of people, a lot of companies, and a lot of brands, and there was just not a huge number of good quality vans in Sydney itself. They're all sort of 2 hours away, either north or south, for whatever reason. And I sort of got a bit frustrated with it, and then we ended up buying a used van, camper. Did our Cape York trip, and basically just, I don't know, started ticking away in my mind, thinking, geez, I could get into a new industry. I could start something. We're really passionate about this. We love travelling. We wanted quality gear. Couldn't really find anyone that could do that. And when we were talking to people, they didn't have that experience. They weren't actually, enthusiasts themselves or people they travelled.
So they were like business people rather than
sales
travelling
guys,
enthusiasts.
So they'd be sales guys, or they'd be, and there'd be no depth of conversation in comparison to, say, our experience with dealing with the guys up at Kedron. They were genuine dudes who and people who went out and did this stuff and lived and breathed it, and it flows through to the product, and they, hence they build what they build, and they have the reputation they have. So we were looking for that here, and we just couldn't find it. So basically, an opportunity came up where there was a guy who was selling an existing brand out of Sydney, who was looking to retire, and me and a few mates sort of kicked it off and thought, let's give it a go. Mainly because I was sort of pushing.
Yeah.
I was sick of being a sparky. I wanted to go down that path. So we sort of lined things up and managed to sort of take on that franchise, and that's how we started Offgrid all those years ago.
So how long ago was that? When did the business start?
So we're in our 9th year, I think we're in.
Yeah, wow.
So that was early 2017. I'm trying to think if it was late 2016 we started the whole conversation. I think it was early 2017 we started it all. We kicked the business off mid-2017.
Yeah.
So we're about 8 years, just over 8 years old.
Yeah, cool.
So we're into our 9th year now. And so we're and we've changed a bit. We've grown a lot. So that was when we started. That was me and a factory across the road here. A desk. We had a camper, my mobile phone, and I hadn't been in sales or
just hustled.
Just figured it out. Just rang people and had genuine conversations and spoke about the product and sort of built it up from there. And now we're we've grown a bit. We've got a second. So we've got our showroom here in Sydney, and then we've got a second one up at Port Stephens. We just opened, and
it's pretty new, yeah.
Just sort of developing and growing and trying to do it from the point of view of maintaining that authentic level of service, or that experience, trying to replicate that experience that I was looking for, with good brands and good quality and all the rest of it. So it's grown from that, I suppose.
So when you bought your first caravan, what was the motivation for that? Like, were you always camping and traveling off grid, or what sort of led you to buying a caravan in the first place?
My wife and I were camping and just tents and swags and that sort of stuff. We had no kids, so we'd go up to Fraser Island, and we'd go to Moreton Island, and sometimes we'd get a house at Fraser, and we'd go fishing with a few friends.
Yeah.
And we'd spend a week up there, and I think the main motivation was Cape York. We had a trip with the family, so my family, as in my parents and my sister, and it was sort of on the cards, and we've been talking about it, and we thought, and by then we had Will, our first, and we thought, well, we need to get something to sort of live in, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we were toying with the idea of travelling for a decent amount of time. That was sort of the plan, but I'd sort of buried myself in work, and it didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
Which I semi-regret, but life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And I looked at campers and I looked at all sorts of stuff, and the caravan just seemed to, sort of grab me, and we loved it. We'd done trips, we've done Simpson Desert in an old cub camper with Will when he was 6 months old. We did our first Simpson Desert crossing.
That's a big call.
And it was freezing, middle of it was about now. July, I think it was all of July from memory.
It gets proper cold out there.
And it was freezing, and the setup and pack up and all that sort of stuff, and we just got used to that, setting up, tarps and rolling out awnings and swags and your little camp kitchen and all that sort of stuff, which was great. And
when it was set up, it was great.
It was, and then it rains, and then we've all been there. You got to pack it all up in the rain, then you got to go home, set it all up, dry it all out. So it was that element of trying to save time and make that happen more, because we weren't having to go through all of that
rigmarole
headache.
So you had a camper before the caravan?
Yeah. So it was Dad's camper we borrowed when we did the Simo crossing. So we sort of restored this. I just rebuilt the whole underside of this old cub camper.
Yeah, wow.
Leaf springs, rebound leaf springs, and solid axle, and we had our 200 series that we'd not long had, and we sort of built this thing out and made it suit us. We put way too many jerry cans across the front of it to be able to carry enough diesel.
Yeah.
And then I don't even think we had a heater in that thing. It was just a tent, and I guess the bug bit there when we sort of saw, you'd hit the road and you do some travel, and friends we were travelling with, they had a different sort of camper, and you pull up for lunch, and flies would just, I don't know where they all came from, but we've all been there and experienced that.
Yep.
In the Simpson Desert, where the flies all just come from nowhere. And you'd have Will there in a bumbo or a little seat, trying to keep the flies off him and feed him and do all this sort of stuff. And then our friends had this camper which the kitchen was inside of, so they'd quickly throw it out, go inside, zip themselves closed, they're out of the flies. And it was just that, we want, like, how good's that? That'd be awesome. And then you get that snowball effect, and it's, what if we got this, what if we got that, and it gets bigger and bigger. So we sort of skipped the section, went from the camper through to the full-size caravan.
Yep.
And it took a little getting used to. We got the van, and you'd pull up to camp, and that's it.
Open the door.
Open the door.
Yeah.
Pull the awning out, and I'd stand there with my hands on my hips going, maybe I'll peg this down.
Now what am I supposed to do?
Alison would come past and sort of laugh or give me shit about the fact that I'm sort of running around trying to look for things to do, because I was so used to that 45-minute sort of routine to set up the trailer, and the caravan was just made things that much easier. So we've toed and froed since then, back and forward between campers and caravans, and depending on where we're going, what the trips are, and what we do. And we've had some epic trailers and some really, really cool travels, and it's developed from there. And I guess that's where the business has sort of stemmed from, is some of those early trips. And
that's pretty cool, man. And what you were saying about the genesis of the business, you've then, whilst running that business, had so many different trailers, and you've tried campers and caravans, and you've had so many different experiences, so you can speak to that when you're talking to a customer, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the products that we sell and a lot of the brands that we have come from, certainly when we started the business, it came from a place of desire, in the sense that I wanted that product, or we wanted to take a particular type of trailer on a trip somewhere. So we'd go look for the best possible product we could find, and balance that with, as the business grew, then considering, where if we're in Sydney here looking for this, we can't be the only ones. So trying to find good, reputable brands that other people would be interested in too, and then that's sort of been the catalyst for how we've grown and developed. So yeah, we've had that ability to try all of the trailers that we sell, and take them away on different trips, and whether it be just trips by ourselves. We've done a few. We haven't done heaps, but we've done some trips with customers.
Oh yeah.
We've got customers, people were customers who have become really, really good friends, and we've done trips with them. We've done trips with suppliers, big events and whatnot, where we've gone away and spent a week or 2 or 3 with them, and it's great. It just means that we build that familiarity with the product. We can genuinely give people advice, or we've got that experience there, but it also then feeds into, we can provide some feedback in terms of any changes and things we want to tweak or adjust. Helps us with our pre-delivery, and I guess or it just feeds and permeates back through the business, so that we've got that sort of ability to be able to look at the product and then see how it might get used, because we've been there and sort of done it. We'd love to do more of it.
Wouldn't we all, mate?
But it's something where I guess with growth, we're hoping we can free up a bit more time, where we can get away and do a bit more of it.
Well, that's what you want the unlimited supply of, right?
Exactly.
That's the one thing that you can't buy more of.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, you're spot on, and I think the credibility piece, gets thrown around, but a salesperson that's job is just to sell something and that they don't have any belief or any interest in the product versus someone that actually uses it. And you can say in this showroom, well, we've used that one and this is good for that, and that one, there's a bit of a shortcoming there. What are you doing with it? Oh, well, maybe you should look at this one because of X, Y, and Z. And I think that's where you build such strong rapport with your customers, right?
Yeah.
And that's why they're willing to go on trips with you and then come back and upgrade their van or change to a new model. And it's trust at the end of the day, right?
Trust and authenticity are pretty core. So for us as a group of people here now, and the team that we've got now is I guess we all sort of program the same way in the sense that
like a cult.
Yeah, slightly. Yeah, we're still working on the ceremonial side of things when I walk in every morning, but we'll get there. But we've got a good team there that sort of, I guess, live and breathe the same thing. We've got some people that have been here almost from the very, very start, and have shared this journey with us. And a lot of it comes down to that ability to be able to just communicate with people, give good, honest advice, tell people when we've got why the products we have might suit them, but then also, pretty wholeheartedly be able to say to somebody, look, maybe this isn't the product for you. Here's a half a dozen brands that don't sell might not sell via a dealership. They might sell direct. They might only be a small brand. They might be a massive brand. So most of our what motivates us, or most of our guidance, or what's the word? Sort of what we go looking for is to do with people who share those same sort of values with us, so manufacturers, whether we work with them or not, just good people, good humans. Yep. This industry's it's maturing, let's call it, and it's got plenty of positive stuff to talk about, but there's a whole bunch in this industry that's maybe not as good as it should be, and we'd like to think we're a bit of a I guess a part of that change as the industry matures a bit more, and the products become better, and people become a little cluier about how to go about looking for what it is they need, and maybe seeing a little bit further past the typical sales spiel and the usual smoke and mirrors that you sort of see. So
yeah, and I guess that's testament to the length of time you've been in business, and also your desire to remain in business, because you see brands come and go and dealerships pop up and disappear, and I guess that's something that really interests me. Now, you know me well, I'm not a caravan guy, but
yet
maybe. So there are so many caravan brands in Australia, like I would say countless, right? Like you go to even like a 4-wheel drive show and there's 50 different caravan brands. I've walked around and had a look at them all, and it's overwhelming the number of different models. Now, admittedly, a lot of them are variations on a theme. They're imported trailers and whatever, but how do you even begin to decide what is the right van for a particular customer? Like, where do you start? If I walk into you today and say, I'm thinking about buying a caravan, where do you start?
Yeah, it's tricky. I couldn't imagine. Well, I guess I could because I was in that situation, but now more than ever, if you walked into, so our biggest show in New South Wales is the Rose Hill show, and you can never get any more space there. They're maxed out. The place is always full of vans. There's no square metre that isn't occupied by a caravan or some sort of a camper or something. So you go there and they've jammed as much as they possibly can in there. So for someone who's new to the industry, or new to this lifestyle, or sort of getting into this sort of type of travel, to walk into that show and where do you start? Like I reckon you'd be either walking out of there more, well, probably most people are going to be walking out of there more confused than ever. Yep,
I'm in that category.
Or they'll rush a million miles an hour into what they think what might look the best. And I think caravan shows to some extent have a place, but this is where we find where we prefer to get people in here and sort of sit with them and really understand, where they're going, who are they travelling with, so how many people, who else might be travelling with them and what their setups might look like. If you've got a whole bunch of friends with lifted GQ patrols and you're going to Monkey Gum and here, there and everywhere else, you're probably not going to get a 24-foot caravan to tow behind that.
I mean, it'd be entertaining seeing them try. But
it would be
good for your service department.
As long as it's insured, we'd have a never-ending customer in that person. But it's you're gonna find the product that's more suited to that person, and you'd go for a really high quality, durable camper trailer, for instance. So you'd see who they're travelling with, where they plan on going, how long they're going for, of course what they're towing with, where they're going to park it, how they're going to store this thing. So have you got a carport? Can you park it on the street? A lot of councils won't let that sort of happen. Where are you? How many times a year are you going to use it?
Yeah.
There's a whole list of information that we sort of go through to just try and then narrow it down. And each one of those questions sort of helps us understand what may or may not work. But for the average person to sort of walk in, it's a tricky one to sort of start with in terms of, do I go for a camper, do I go for a hybrid, or do I go for a caravan? And then once you're in one of those three sort of segments, what are the must-haves, what are the must-not-haves? And then, even once you've got that list, let's say you land on a hybrid, you've got your must-haves and your must-not-haves. It doesn't matter what version of that or whatever your answers are, there's probably going to be 30 brands or 30 options for you to choose from. And my advice or my mentality or my perception of it is, you get the best possible quality product you can from the best quality people you can, and as much as I guess your budget or your means allow. And the good news is there's plenty of great brands that are owned or sort of managed by great people. And they build a great product and they care if things go wrong. There's a whole bunch of other brands that are you would say less, as far as priorities go, they're more interested in the dollars and cents side of things, and that's fine. But it doesn't necessarily resonate with us, and doesn't necessarily resonate with our typical customer. So I'd say if you're coming into the industry, the single biggest piece of advice I could give you is using places like a show as a means to gather information, to shortlist from the point of view of brands or products that you like, as well as brands and products that you refuse to buy or don't like, and then take that research and leave.
Don't be signing into that any trap. Contracts.
So don't fall into that trap at the shows there where you get hoodwinked into a deal and all the rest of it.
Special.
It's kind of laughable, the industry, how it pushes down that path. I don't know too many other industries that do it.
Well, it's a pretty considered purchase, right? Like some of these vans, you're talking big dollars to then go to a show at Rosehill Racecourse and sign up for a 6-figure caravan on finance. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, we go and we have the capacity to take orders at the show, but it's not, we don't measure ourselves on that basis. We go there from the point of view of being able to meet a lot of people in a short amount of time. And if we get, we try to, where we can, to minimise some of that pressure. The tricky part is, I guess that works for us, but not many others play by those rules. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to leave ask at the stand and walk around the corner and
Sign a deal. Yeah.
sign a deal. But that's the way it goes.
But I think you said it yourself, right? That's not necessarily your customer to begin with, right? Like when I look at, and as I said, I'm not a caravan guy, but I know when I look at the products that you sell, they're premium products, right? You're not selling down and dirty, cheap stuff. You're selling high quality, tough, really premium finishes. Like some of the vans around here, I've looked in at shows, and when I've been here, and like they're nicer than my house, dude. Like they're proper high end stuff. And I think the customer that's looking for that, I think, would potentially be a bit more discerning. You'd hope so.
Yeah, generally you've got people who it's not always the case, but you've got people who might be on their second or third trailer. Yeah,
I was going to ask that. Like how, do you get many people who come to you for their first van, or is it usually they're coming in for a replacement of an existing camper or van?
Yeah, we get a lot of, I wouldn't say heaps, but we get a lot of people who will come in. It's probably a lot of the time comes from referrals. So whether that be referrals in terms of customers who have bought from us in the past, or customers who might recommend one of the brands. So their aunties bought a lifestyle camper or something in Queensland, so they recommend why don't you go see a lifestyle, and then we become beneficiaries of that referral via the brand.
Sure.
And we like to sort of, I guess, we'd like to think we sort of uphold our end of the bargain and sort of make sure that we can follow through with those referrals to make sure that whoever comes through buys the right product. Again, whether it's our product or someone else's. So, but yeah, we get a lot of referrals. We've got a lot of customers who have bought, probably I think we're up to 4 or 5 trailers from us.
Wow.
It's probably some of the customers have bought up to 5 trailers over.
Is that because they're upgrading or life requirements are changing?
Bit of both, yeah.
More kids or less kids or whatever, and they're changing the model.
Bit of both. We got some customers that might once every year or two upgrade, so they'll stay within the same brand and they might just go to the new model, or they'll go from a smaller trailer into a bigger trailer, and then we get plenty of customers who will have, they might have a full-size van, and they want to downsize and go into something a little more manageable or a little smaller. So we get people that sort of slide and move around. Which, if you buy a good brand, good trailer, you can get away with that.
And the resale on them's reasonable, right?
Yeah, you don't have to tear up a lot of money in the process. It's usually do okay. So, but if you get the use out of it, you get a year's worth of use. These are people who are using them every second weekend, sort of thing.
Really?
Like they're getting plenty of use out of it. So they sort of turn it over from the point of view of so it doesn't get too old, and they might use it more than the average person. So,
so for a numpty like me, explain to me. I think I'm pretty confident with what a camper trailer is. What's the difference between a hybrid and a caravan? Like, at what point does a camper trailer become a hybrid, become a caravan?
Yeah, loosely speaking, it's to do with the width. Obviously, it's to do with the length and the height and everything else as well. But we're seeing hybrids now. Traditionally, a hybrid would be a single axle, narrow, might only be. We talk feet for whatever reason in the caravan industry.
Of course.
Makes no sense. But anyway, and when we talk feet, we talk about the internal dimension of the van.
Really? So a 26-foot caravan is the internal dimension?
The internal dimension in feet. Go figure. I don't know where it come from. I don't know how or why, but anyway.
So I always thought that was the external dimension because that would have been the logical thing, but no.
You would think so, and you think it'd be in metres, but anyway, that's the way it works. So a hybrid would be, let's say 15, 16 feet, maybe 17 feet at a push, and we get them down to as low as 10 feet. But in essence, it's what it's trying to do is remove the canvas. So it's trying to be somewhere in between a full-size caravan and a small camper trailer that's generally got canvas or something that folds in one direction or another. So we're seeing hybrids are becoming really, really popular. Campers are still popular. It's not there. what's the word? You know, it was an oversaturated market for such a long time, and then the hybrids, and maybe a lot of this is to do with the imported product. The importers were bringing in a lot more hybrids, so the hybrid market grew, and then we found sort of people are wanting, you know, they want inverters and they don't want the canvas, and they don't want, you know, they want the solar on the roof, and they want the fridges, and they want all the, you know, the diesel heaters and all the mod cons in there. So the hybrid, you could fit more of that in there, but it remains small enough that you can get it down, you know, fire trails and tracks and things like that, and take it most places. You're not going to take a hybrid the same place as you would take a really high quality small camper. You know, we've taken campers up Billy Goat in the high country, Blue Rag, all over Cape York, you know, you name it. With the right trailer built by the right people, will follow you everywhere. And gravity will be the only thing that stops you. It won't be the vehicle, won't be the trailer. But people are, you know, our customers at least, we're sort of noticing that people are sort of transitioning more to that hybrid or the caravan, and setting up a home base somewhere, disconnect, and then go and do those trips.
I saw a lot of that up in Cape York, you know, when I was up there last month, that there was places like gravel pits that look like caravan parks because there's like 30 vans lined up.
Yeah, some of the best spots.
With no vehicles.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you go down to Fruit Bat and there's like all the cars and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's where the vehicles are. But it makes sense, right? Like, I guess for a certain type of travel, if you're going point A to point B and that's a long journey, you don't want to then be backtracking to pick up your van, hence the trailer, you know, the camper, I guess, has its place.
Exactly, yeah. So Simpson Desert was a perfect example. We've done that a couple of times with a camper. And, you know, you go from east to west, or, you know, you're moving to a destination. So if you're going to go to WA, or if you're going to go to Cape York and you're going to do that style of travel where you're, you know, you're going from, you're touring, you know, like you're moving with purpose. You're going from here to there to there to there to there. You're not doing a loop around, or you're not plonking in one spot and then seeing this track and then going in a different direction every day and coming back. Then the camper by a million miles is the way you'd go. And we've had some cracking trips doing exactly that. You know, you're moving every day, you're in a new location. But the caravans, and we've done it up at Cape York where you can, it is feasible to take the caravans to these places, and especially if you're living in it for 6 months. You know, you're traveling around, you've got a family, you've taken 6 months off, or you've rented your house out or whatever. And particularly over west where you get quite, you know, stiff winds and whatnot coming off the coast. You know, you want that, you want the comfort, I suppose. Or we're seeing a lot of people want that comfort and security of, you know, hard walls and a hard roof, and if it's windy and it's raining and it's a big storm or it's whatever, you kind of got that security. It feels like like an apartment almost behind you.
Well, some of them are big enough to qualify as an apartment.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these are huge. But, you know, then of course you can't take that up Billy Goat, you know, in the high country.
No, it'll end badly.
Wouldn't end well. It would be
not covered under warranty.
And I definitely am not suggesting anyone try that. It was bad enough with little trailer.
Can we talk about some stuff that's been happening in the caravan industry lately in regards to warranties and off-road usage?
Yeah.
So it's not a brand that you sell here, but a very big caravan brand has been in the media lately, and, you know, saying that maybe some of the vans aren't being used as intended, and, you know, denying warranty claims and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I imagine that's a minefield for you guys in terms of when you recommend a product based on that qualification of the customer, and you say, well, this is the van we think for you, and then potentially they go and do things that don't fit within that, or they go and belt it on corrugations for 5,000 Ks and something breaks. How do you deal with that? Like, how does that all work in terms of like an off-road trailer, and what constitutes off-road use and what doesn't?
It's tricky. It's hard. So all of our, I'm just trying to think. It's nobody hold me to this, but because I may have it wrong, but all of our trailers are warranted for full off-road use, and that's not with some gotcha around you can't go on this particular off-road use. It's just off-road use. Now that's you sort of say that with and you can understand from a manufacturer's point of view where you can't just necessarily say something like, yeah, take it off-road, because your version of off-road and my version of off-road are probably two different things. So we'll go back to, say, Monkey Gum and old mate in his GQ Patrol. Yeah, it's warranted for off-road use. And then you skull drag this thing up some track that you wouldn't imagine someone would tow a six-figure trailer up. But they do.
Yeah, they do.
And then they come back and say, well, this broke. That's a scenario where you're sort of sitting there going, well, that's probably my fault because I didn't necessarily say off-road use, but don't be reckless with your money.
Yes.
But it's sort of one of those things now where people are taking these things, they're living in them. They're spending 6 months, 12 months in a caravan, whereas historically it was something that might get used for 30 days a year. You might do a family trip down the coast at Christmas, and that's maybe it. Maybe a couple of weekends here and there.
Yeah.
So people are demanding more. They've got more elaborate, mechanical and electrical systems in them. And that's where, as an electrician, there's an advantage there. I can sort of see how it all works and sort of, based on experience, know whether we're recommending the right sort of products. But it's tricky from both a manufacturer's point of view and then us as a dealership. It's funny, I was having this conversation with somebody just the other day online, where they've had some real not a customer of ours, just somebody who's having some grief with and it's not that they haven't spent the money; they've spent the money on good gear. And the perception was buy direct from a manufacturer and not from a dealership, because then you cut out a middleman and everything else. And that example you sort of, I guess, you touched on before was as a manufacturer they're suggesting, or they're sort of advertising a product a particular way, and insinuating that you can use it a certain way, but then the paperwork doesn't necessarily correspond with it. And there's a bunch of detail. So all of this is still yet to be
I didn't want to mention the brand because I don't want to get involved.
No,
but I'm interested in it.
And I don't think there's anything malicious there. I think it's probably just come down to how it's been delivered, I suppose, from a sales point of view. And this is where, as a dealership, this is where we've got to take ownership. So, there's the customer comes in and they have, this is what I want to do. These are the things I want to see. These are the places I want to go. This is what I'm towing it with. Here's the blob of jelly, and all of the factors that have gone into this. Now, give me something solid that I know I can depend on. And that's basically our job, is to take all of that information, specify a product, whether it's one of ours or somebody else's. Naturally, if it's somebody else's, then other than providing a recommendation, that's sort of as far as we go. But if it's one of our products, we want to know that we've got to live with this customer for as long as they have the van, and then hopefully the next van after that and the one after that. And they're going to travel and they're going to sit around a campfire and they're going to talk to people. So whether you like it or not, where you inherently become connected with the person you sell a trailer to, and then you've got an obligation to make sure they've got a product that they've received what you've told them they would receive.
Yeah, and I suppose that's probably magnified for a business like yours because it's an expensive purchase. They're not buying, like, I don't know, a drink bottle from you.
No.
Where if they have a bad experience, they go, oh, well, throw it in the bin and go buy another one.
Yeah, nobody's going to die if you give them their money back for a drink bottle.
No, but with the products that you're selling, it's a big investment for people, and they're, I'm sure a lot of them are financed or they've saved up for ages, and it's a huge deal for them to commit that kind of money. And then if they're disappointed, they're going to come straight back to you and tell you that they're disappointed.
Fair enough.
So I suppose if a GQ Patrol owner and he's got 37s, rocks up here and all his panels are dented, maybe you'd go, oh, this might not be the right caravan shop for you, or maybe you don't need a caravan at all.
Well, it's probably that, just making sure he understands that there's things that break and there's things that you have broken. There's a distinct difference between the two of them. So there's parts of a van that are it doesn't matter where you take it, that shouldn't fall apart. But if you lean it against a tree and skull drag it across some rock steps and you snap a leg off, a stabiliser leg off,
you broke it.
I'll help you, but it hasn't broken. We generally have great experiences with the people, with everyone we work with. We don't always get it right ourselves. And the manufacturers don't always get it right. They build these things and everyone gets out of bed in the morning to do their best and try their hardest to, produce the best product and sell the best product. But it doesn't always go to plan. And I think that's, again, why we're here is to, when something falls over, essentially it comes down to accountability and sometimes the customers just need somebody to help them out.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need somebody to be accountable. Whatever that individual circumstance is, I suppose, the main brand building mindset or view is to take, if it's a $500 part or it's a $100 part, and it's a little bit, you could argue one way or the other.
Just cop it.
Just move on. Let's just sort it out. So that customer's, down the road, it's not the end of the world for them.
Well, that's the difference between a repeat customer and a detractor, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty simple stuff.
It doesn't, and a lot of it, there's a whole bunch of factors and influences and everything that comes into that as well. There's what we aim for is to find, and like I said at the start, it's about good people. So we want to find the best people to work with. We want to find the best suppliers to work with who are good people. We want to sort of fulfill that as well for people. If we can find that mixture where we're all in it for the right reasons and no one's trying to take a chunk out of each other, then everything works unbelievably smoothly. But it's tricky, and that's where, sometimes it can fall over. In the industry generally is, we can get in situations as an industry where, it becomes a bit, it's just like War and Peace, where it's sort of, you've got this warranty document that's so convoluted and complicated that we end up, well, not so much we, but the industry ends up in this sort of argument over fairly trivial stuff. That probably could have been sorted out at the start with just some good, honest, frank conversation. And it might be some information you don't want to hear, as in, you probably shouldn't take that van down that track. If you do, you're probably going to break some stuff. Like that might come at a cost of a sale to us, but if you go down the road and you get sold the dream by some sales guy, you can't get upset that you've sort of been semi-ignorant.
So you mentioned the in the example that we were talking about, that the marketing and the warranty document maybe didn't align. Something that I've noticed more and more is a lot of brands are obviously using influencer marketing, and they're giving vans to people who are living the dream and living the full-time off-road lifestyle and taking vans to what I would say are more and more remote, far-flung locations, right? The implication to a potential customer is, well, I've seen someone doing it on the internet and it's all good, so now I can do the same thing and I can emulate that. I think, from my perspective, I was chatting to someone the other day about this, right? is a van designed to be used full time for a year at a time, getting towed all around the country over corrugations and down beaches and whatever else? And how long will a van survive doing that? Because when you're looking at, love the term, but an influencer or a content creator who's getting a new van every year, if they're beating the crap out of it for 12 months, but they know they're getting a new one at the end of the year, they're probably less concerned about wear and tear. But do you think that that's playing a part in maybe some of the issues that are occurring?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an element of it. There's probably two parts to that. So there's naturally an influencer, just by definition, is there to influence you and your decisions. So they're there to, in essence, sell your product or influence your decision making into which product you're going to buy.
Yes.
And if they can do that well and sell lots of stuff, well, then they get another van and they get another one and more brands and all the rest of it. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's a part of marketing.
And it works.
That's the industry.
Yep.
That's not just this industry, it's every industry.
Yeah.
It could be all sorts of products. And, social media provides that platform, which is great. It also provides a whole bunch of free content that you can sit there and watch till the cows come home. So there's a whole bunch of value there for someone to consume that content. But you've got to take it from, I guess you've got to view it with a somewhat critical eye, just the same as you would any other marketing content. They're going to show things in its best light because they're incentivized essentially to do that. There's not many people out there who are promoting or documenting their travels and their lifestyle who are doing it completely out of the kindness of their own heart and out of their own pocket. It's not to say there's none, but there's not many.
Few.
And even so, they've all got opinions, and opinions are what they are.
Everybody's got one.
Yeah. So I think the influencer side of things is great from an industry point of view, to be able to get your products out there and people to see them. They're going to live in the thing, and they're going to travel around, and they're going to do some gnarly stuff, and they've got to an ability to turn that thing over, and it comes back and it gets repaired and it gets sorted out and it gets sold to somebody else. That's all fine. They would be, and I don't know if it's hard to find that balance, but they would be less unlikely to publish, this drawer fell out, or this widget broke, or whatever it might be, I shredded a tyre, or these are all consequential things from putting essentially a 3.5 ton, 4 ton product in a pretty hostile environment for prolonged periods of time behind your car, with all the rocks and dust and everything else, and carrying all of your personal possessions.
GoPros.
So all of your electronics, everything's all in there. It's you think about the electrics, you think about the solar, you think about just how much is going on in that.
Well, there's a lot
trailer.
to go wrong, right?
Yeah, and you can have a couple of things go wrong. It's sort of part of the journey. But to sell it as a you'll never have issues is probably doing a disservice to I guess people and their maybe not giving people enough credit. But reality is always going to be a better product or a new gizmo or a new whatever it might be. Do you need it all? Probably not. A lot of these electrical systems, you don't have to go as crazy. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got a bajillion amps.
We were just looking at this thing next to us earlier before we started filming, and the inner nerd in me goes, oh, that's awesome. I don't know what half of that stuff does, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
The 12 volt systems in campers, caravans, they're insane, right? But do you need it? No. Is it cool? Sure. Is it great to
it's
have
useful.
Unlimited power.
It adds value. Are you going to get upset if a terminal comes loose or it's going to be annoying, but can you deal with it? You probably can. Is it gonna, it's just the same as if your car has a fault, or it's frustrating, but it's kind of, it comes to some extent with travel, remote travel. And if you've got good brands, and it's not just the manufacturer of the van, it's the sum of the products inside the vans as well. So if you've got a good electric system, you've got good alloy wheels, you've got good suspension, you've got, if you put the best stuff you can together, and you've used someone who's reputable, who knows how to screw these things together in a way that they don't fall apart all the time, and you've been upfront about where you're going to take it. And I guess everybody's piled into that adventure in the sense that, our product can do that. You don't, you can take, and it should be fairly trivial stuff that happens. If it happens, you take that in your stride, and everyone partners to resolve it, or get things sorted. We're probably at the point of view where, or we're probably fortunate in the sense that we've got, we have got really good products. So we have issues. We have some corkers. We have some cracking issues. Not cracking issues. We don't have no cracking. But we have some like stuff you couldn't dream of, and they're accidents, they're issues. Sometimes they're brain fades. But we'd like to think that whenever we can, us and the brands that we sell stand tall. I'm not aware. I mean, this might be dangerous, but put it in the comments if anyone's out there that's got an axe to grind with me, but I shouldn't have anyone out there.
Well, you're leading with your chin. I like it.
We shouldn't have anyone out there that's overly upset with us. And, you might not necessarily love our opinion that you broke it didn't break, but at the same time, we're not going to pick arguments over trivial stuff. We're very fair, we're authentic. But I think the industry generally needs to be a little more humble, or a little more, open to the idea that it doesn't. Surely, no one's expectation is it's infallible. And just be honest, and this is part of the journey. And it was, to go back to the first example, the Kedron guys did it perfectly. Like if you ever watch those DVDs,
I didn't.
They're back, and that's how old it was. DVDs. They used to be tapes.
Right.
So DVDs, and they would take this stuff and pound the living bejesus out of it in the worst conditions you could possibly imagine. They'd go get a brand new Land Cruiser. Toyota, for whatever reason, kept giving them cars. Give them a brand new car.
Because you're still talking about it all these years later. So whoever
that's
gave
right.
them the cars,
They know what they're doing. And they're good guys. They gave it back to them better than they received it. They're just good quality humans. But they would go and hammer this stuff, and they would snap the tow bar off the back of the Prado because they didn't take the anti-sway bars off road. They weren't having a crack at Toyota. That was a brain fade. That was part of the trip. They took it somewhere, and they have issues inside the cabinetry or whatever it might be. Just own it. Oh, we've got these issues. Well, we're going to take this and we're going to go change our process or change our, product so that it's better. It doesn't happen for anyone else. That's authenticity there. You got to have some courage to do that.
It takes a very bold business to record and publish their R&D process.
Yeah.
Because I don't care who you are, every company's R&D results in failures, right? That's
how
you end up with quality products.
If it doesn't, then you're not going hard enough. You're not trying hard enough. It's the point. It's so, it's that sort of early, formative sort of perspective that as a customer that was influences back then, and that was how you sort of lived through other people's adventures on a telly, and now it's just there's so much of it where it's just all one big ad, and it's who's got the biggest, baddest setup, and who can hook you in, and who's got the biggest sort of clickbaity sort of drama that happened this week, and it's I don't know if it's helping. It's helping in terms of getting product out there, but I don't know if it's helping people's perception of how the real world works. It's just kind of it's hard on the gear out there. You're going to have some issues. You've got to be pretty prepared, and it would be nice to get a bit more genuine, authentic. This is stuff that's been good. This is things that have gone wrong, and just show it for what it is. And this is the support we received, and we'd love to see more of that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I had a conversation with someone recently about this. If you're brand new to the four-wheel drive industry or the camping industry or caravans, how do you decide and how do you know what's an ad and what isn't? Because you've got all these people saying that product X, Y, and Z is the best thing ever. And I work in marketing, so the irony is not lost on me. But if someone's never used anything except for that product, are they then a credible source to say this is the best one ever?
Yep.
So it's almost like,
or if they've got their name on the side of the product, like it's, we're starting to see even some of that as well.
Are they going to show you warts and all what's gone wrong, or are they going to film around that, or, cover things up? And I think, it's a bit of a minefield for a customer to go, right, well, who do I give my hard-earned money to, and who's credible? What is real? I guess is the minefield that we all face, right?
And word of mouth, that as I keep, that authenticity is harder to find, and it's that vulnerability to be wrong sometimes and be able to fix it, and be able to just genuinely improve and get better. And I think that it's that commercial relationship between the product or the manufacturer or whatever you want to call it, the person who's doing the marketing or the trying to deliver or sell or promote that product, and then the end user. It's sort of those three are kind of in their own individual silos, whereas it would be awesome if it could somehow just all weave together and be able to live in a place where issues happen and they get sorted.
Yes.
Nice and simple. I don't know how you do that, but it just seems very cut and dry. It's either the best product or we don't talk about it at all, which makes it, it's only going to make it harder for people to try and pick what's bullshit and what's not.
Which is hard for anyone buying anything these days, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned gizmos. Caravans now and caravans 10, 20 years ago are very different things. Where do you see it going? Like, is there still innovation happening in these products? Do you still see things and go, wow, I never thought of that? Like, are you still seeing good levels of innovation, or is it small, iterative sort of improvements on the existing?
Yeah, I see, what would you call it? So there's lots of products and existing solutions in different industries. So like I said, I came from oil and gas and mining and industrial automation. So, where we used to use PLCs and smart switching systems and all sorts of stuff in a factory, in a switchboard as big as the side of that caravan, which would do fairly basic tasks. And now we're essentially starting to see that same logic or automation and whatnot feed into the vans. That system, that industrial automation system, had a team of maintenance electricians there to keep it running, and it didn't always run. It would fall over at 12 o'clock at night, and you'd get in your car and you'd drive to work, and you'd get a call out and you'd fix it. These are systems that were $100,000, $200,000 to install in one section of a factory. So while a lot of these ideas and everything else are interesting and cool, they're not new. But they're not without their issues and their downsides. So I think there's still lots of stuff that comes out that intrigues me. But I think one of the things that I see is the electrical side of things, running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it's almost a bit of a competition who can have the most of.
It's an arms race, right?
Yeah, it's like who can have the most innovative thing in the van. But the reality is, when you get to your destination and you set up camp, and you're at Exmouth or wherever you are, you're sitting on a beach, Fraser Island. You don't have a campfire because you're at Fraser Island, but you're sitting, by the beach there. You're going fishing. You're enjoying some time. Like, how much of it actually matters in the grand scheme of things, and how much of it does it put at risk that trip? And so, the electrical systems I see in particular, simplicity most of the time is key. You want that robustness first. You want that dependability. You want to have something that's not going to let you down. It's going to work. It might not. It might be 20% less powerful than the latest thing on the market, and it might mean that the lights, switch off via a switch instead of dimming nicely at the end of the day. But geez, it's handy when you go there and you go to turn your water pump on, and it turns on, as opposed to goes through some startup sequence for no reason. So we see all sorts of stuff. Honestly, I think the best place as an industry we can focus is around, the things that are going to bring you back to town. Essentially, is mostly water, and I guess to some extent food. Solar systems are now at the point where they're pretty well self-sustaining. They can just even your most basic solar system doesn't need to be any brand. It can be, even if it's on a budget, there's plenty of different budget sort of brands that are good quality. You put a fairly rudimentary solar system on now with a couple of lithium batteries. Not much comes with AGMs anymore. And you're pretty well, you've got your lights and your basic needs sorted. Lights, water pump, hot water of some description, and maybe if you're going from some extra luxuries, you might have an inverter, so you can use some appliances and stuff like that. But that's pretty common these days. You can get that fairly easily. But water, being able to carry water, create water, so generating water, some technologies around that is we see it in the marine industry, things like water makers and stuff like that. They're getting smaller and smaller, to the point now where there's products that are available that could feasibly go into a van or a vehicle to be able to draw water literally out of the ocean and turn it into water that you can use in your shower.
Wow.
So that's the stuff I think the industry should be pouring its energy around, so that you can go remote for longer, and you can be in these places for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. Mitch and Ames is a perfect example. They went up to Cape York. They were on the west coast of Cape York. They found a beach. They ran into a fella up there who had a spear basically in the ground, so a water spear, so he could draw water out of there. And essentially that meant, so just by having that access to clean, fresh water, for washing and everything else, meant they could stay there pretty well indefinitely. They didn't need to go anywhere. That sort of freedom is, I think, what most people are looking for now, outside of people who are just looking for the showboatiness of the latest and greatest. But there's heaps of stuff I see. A lot of it's imported, comes from other industries. It's just people that are taking a punt, and I think the industry's big enough that it can sustain that now here in Australia. Someone can bring in 3 containers worth of something from Europe in the marine industry and feasibly make it work. So that's exciting. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that concerns me, or the biggest thing that I don't think is being supported, and it seems to be the trap that everyone falls into, is these electrical systems that are just way more complicated than they need to be. And me as an automation electrician, being able to look at it, and even I can I can see the concerns even if I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm not going to be able to fix it. There's no chance that the average Joe Blow is going to be able to fix out some of these issues, and I can promise you it hasn't had the R&D that a lot of these other systems might have had. So, but yeah, there's always something coming through, and new tech. So we adopt what we can, and we get behind stuff that's well supported and proven, and we try really hard to duck and weave and just shy away from some of the more innovative stuff that's fresh on the market, because it goes through that sort of R&D phase in vans with customers, which we try to avoid. So.
Yeah, you don't want your customers doing your R&D destructive testing for you generally.
Doesn't usually end well.
No.
Usually ends up in some fairly aggravated customers.
Well, mate, I've really enjoyed the conversation. I'm still not ready to buy a caravan. You haven't convinced me just yet, but maybe you didn't understand the assignment.
It won't be me who convinces you, mate.
No, it absolutely won't.
It'll be at home.
There's a small Italian woman that will be responsible for that.
I was going to say it's her that I'll be selling it to.
Yeah, not anytime soon, mate. But look, I definitely see the appeal, and having a kid, I can understand your example of the flies in the Simpson Desert. I've been there, and yeah, it's pretty wild. And if you haven't been there, you haven't experienced it. Something that we all have to do once in our lives.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It was even with all that, it was an awesome trip. Will doesn't remember any of it. He was too young, but
Doesn't matter.
Even for us, it was a hell of a milestone to sort of to share that with him, and even for us as new parents. So.
And I think it must be so cool for you selling these vans to people, and then they come back and go, "We had the best time ever, and we saw all this stuff," and that's got to be really rewarding for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's that's the part that keeps it interesting and keeps it enjoyable. We get customers that tag us in their videos and their photos and stuff when they're out there traveling and going to some awesome places. We get customers that pick them up, and literally a week later they're in Perth. Like, they've just hightailed it across the country, and they don't muck around, and it's awesome to see that. So.
Well, it's pretty cool, man. I wish you all the best, and I hope that you continue doing what you're doing, because I think there needs to be more people in this industry with the same mindset as you. So
absolutely,
thanks again, man.
No, I appreciate it.
Really
thanks for coming out.
And we will see all of you next time on the outer side, and I will not be in a caravan.